I'm moving towards our next speaker, uh, and I extend my cordial welcome to our Sevaite President of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, Srila Bhakti Rishkam Shanta Maharaj. His brief introduction is he received PhD in Coastal Hydrodynamics from the IIT Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. He did postdoc at the Korea Ocean Research and Development Center. He published numerous papers in international and national conferences and journals like Spenger, Link, and Communicative and Integrative Biology. He is also a main organizer of the Science and Scientist Conference series. He is a Vaishnava monk and Sevaite-President-Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, Narashimapalli, West Bengal, India. I welcome to Dr. Bhakti Nishkam Shanta Maharaj. He is going to talk on how can Sankhya perspective be utilized to enhance scientific understanding of life's origin and the material world. Please, I welcome again to Srila Bhakti Nishkam Shanta Maharaj. Yes, please.
Before beginning my talk on how can Sankhya perspectives be utilized to enhance scientific understanding of life's origins and the material world, I would like to offer my prayers to my divine masters. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Gyananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सर्वदामोदर स्वामिति नामिनि नमो सद्भक्तमनय मणिपुरोद्भवै च प्रभुपादलस्य देवानि प्रचारनिरतायते जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्तबिंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So our founder Acharya has explained, Srila Bhakti Rakshasena Goswami Maharaj, the meeting point of the finite with the infinite is Sri Guru. In Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12, it is mentioned that Tad Vigyanartham Sagurum Eva Gachet Samit Pani Sutriyam Brahmanishtam. In order to learn the transcendental science, one must approach the bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession, which is fixed in the absolute truth. So first we have to understand what is the concept of matter in modern science. In modern science, matter is defined as anything that has mass and takes up space. So previously there was the concept of indivisible atom. Later on they come up with many number of particles and subatomic particles. And now with the advent of quantum mechanics, so it is a solid substance that we know as particle or a spread out concept like a wave. That is not sure because it depends on the type of process that we are employing. We see the things differently. So there is also the concept of matter and antimatter, which they believe that when they come together, then the process of annihilation happens. So atom of matter and antimatter have the same mass but opposite electrical charge and different quantum number. The spin and the charge are different, and thus they believe that when they come in contact, so there is an annihilation happens. So the idea of origin of universe and matter, according to modern science, is that initially there was some imbalance between the matter and antimatter, and somehow the matter content was more than the antimatter. Thus, we are seeing the universe, it is perceivable or sensible to our observations, that is made up of matter. So, why that imbalance has happened, and what is the source of that matter and antimatter? All these questions are unanswered so far. So, this is the idea of matter in the modern science. And what is the concept of life? Life is a self-sustaining chemical system capable of Darwinian evolution. So, in modern science, they think that there are molecules which can arrange themselves by some different, complex circumstances, which will be a complex arrangement of matter, and that will automatically lead to a principle that we know as life. So basically, life and matter, there is no difference, only some degree of complexity. That is the difference, what modern scientists believe. So, and from there, even they say that chemicals undergo some kind of evolution. There is an idea called chemical evolution theory. And that first life also followed random mutation and natural selection, and all the life forms that is we are observing, the biodiversity, that is a product of that process. So this is the basic idea of the entire universe, how that is manifested. Uh, that is what they are claiming or explaining, but it's very difficult to understand as far as modern scientific idea is concerned, how a matter with the property of mass, length, color, density, electrical charges, spin, and so many so-called physical and chemical properties, acidity, basic, all these things led to the property of life, which we see as knowing, thinking, feeling, willing, happiness, unhappiness, you know, the concept of self, all these things. There is no evidence in modern science that they ever established that matter that they're talking about in terms of atoms or chemicals or the particles, subatomic particles, or so-called antimatter, all these things don't have the property that we see life exhibit. So how that property came into existence, still they have not explained anything about that. So it is basically at present represent a mere dogma as far as the concept of life and its origin and evolution. All these concepts are concerned, because there is no evidence except adaptation uh, or the changes that organism undergo, small changes due to environmental pressure. Apart from that, there is no big change that what we call as macroevolution. It is not observed, and there are many experiments on bacteria, and bacteria never change into something else. Bacteria remain a bacteria. There are minor changes in the bacteria, so adaptive changes. So how different life forms manifested, or how even the first life manifest, or what is the source of the matter that they're talking about. We don't know what is the fundamental nature of matter, but how that fundamental nature of matter and so-called matter and antimatter, how that manifests. There is no clear idea in modern science. So the horror of scientific racism and eugenics that we find in modern science, and Darwin, given this idea of evolution, and scientists are very proud of that idea. He himself has propagated racism. In 1981, nearing the culmination of his life, Charles Darwin penned a letter to a colleague stating that the more civilized so-called Caucasian races have beaten the Turkish hollow in the struggle for existence. Looking to the world at no very distant date, What an endless number of lower races will have been eliminated by the higher civilized races throughout the world. So, British, when they were ruling the world, they have done many wrong things, which is against the basic norms of human society. I mean, they have discriminated based on their origin, where British and others are not British origin, we are white and others are dark skinned or brown skinned. On this basis, bodily concept of self or life, they have done many, what you can say, inhuman activities towards others. And to justify that, Britishers like Darwin and others proposed, this type of survival of fittest idea and try to claim, boasting in the name of science, that only their race will continue and others will perish, and justified wrongdoings by the concept of survival of fittest. So this is very unfortunate thing that goes on still. Now people are using that theory called Darwin's theory, which origin itself and the proponent itself has such a bad idea in the background of his proposition of this concept. So whole of the West is struggling with the concept of black, white, what you can say, this discrimination, racism, and also the concept of Darwinism led to the development of theories on born prostitutes and born criminals, championed by Italian criminal anthropologist Cesare Lombroso. Many viewed eugenics as a practical solution to the societal issues. So they are using these all theories, so-called scientific theories, without having any scientific basis to justify many wrong things, wrong ideas they're propagating in the name of science. Means some people from different races, they term them as born prostitutes, born chemical criminals, and like this, they are justifying the criminals based on the genes, which is not the case. There is never anybody found out a murderer gene or a, what you can say, a thief gene or a sober person gene. Lord, such an idea is not there, and yet they are using this all concepts coming from British origin, so-called advanced science or scientists. These wrong ideas being propagated in the name of science, and our children are getting this type of education, which is very bad for our society and our society's degradation. Main cause is brainwashing people with this type of wrong ideas. So apart from all this illusionary ideas that exist in modern science, if we try to look into the six systems of darsans of Indian philosophy, so there is a philosophy called Sankhya philosophy. So today I am going to discuss how that Sankhya philosophy is going to help us overcoming the difficulties in understanding origin of life and the material world, all these things. Basically, these six system philosophies are Nyaya, the school of logic; Vaisheshika, the school of atomic theory; Sankhya, the school of analyzing matter and spirit, which we will be briefly discussing today; Yoga, the school of self-realization; Karma Mimamsa, the school of science of fruity work; Vedanta, the school of the science of God realization. So the last one, the Vedanta, the school of science of God realization. So it is the fundamental basis where all shortcomings of all the five philosophies can be harmonized, because the when we are talking about the origin, so all the Vedic literatures uh, which are described in this, six systems of darshan or philosophy, so they, what you can say, all talk about the concept of supreme personality of Godhead. So here the word darshan is used. So we have to understand what is this darshan. In Indian philosophy, darshan means to see properly. When sometimes we talk in English, we say I see. Means I see means not we are seeing through these fleshy eyes, but I realized or I grasped the idea and say, oh, I see. I say. So darshan. Darshan means to develop the proper concept to see the reality. So that is the most important thing. Without the proper concept, just we want to understand things by our mere sensory data, then that is not so much fruitful. Because when we are what you can say getting these sensory data, even in modern science we are getting so many data, so that data has to be what you can say put together into a conceptual framework to analyze the things. So the concept is very, very important. So when we are going for darshan of a particular temple or a devotee, then we are trying to understand the concept the temple or the deity or the devotee presenting to this world. Not just we are going to see by our fleshy eyes and trying to understand. So this philosophy means to develop the proper concept to see things. The Sankhya philosophy pertains to the philosophical school in six systems darshan of Indian philosophy based on systematic enumeration and rational examination. So in Sankhya philosophy, uh, the word Sankhya is coming from the counting. So so they describe in terms of different elements, like in modern science, we have different elements of a periodic table. So in Sankhya philosophy, there are different elements of the things that we are observing in this world. So categorized in different elements. Sometimes that is categorized as 24 elements and 26 elements. So different number of elements they summarize the different things that are going on in this material world. Sankhya maintains a steadfast dualism between matter, Prakriti, and the eternal spirit, Purusha. So there is two concepts that is Sankhya talking about. One is Prakriti, another is Purusha. Purusha is the source of consciousness or spirit, and Prakriti the nature or matter, including mundane mind and emotion of living entities. So here we have to note that the concept of matter in Sankhya, it includes both the gross matter and also the subtle matter, like mind and emotions, that is considered as the subtle matter. Uh, so Purusha Prakriti start as separate entities, but evolutionary, which is subjective in nature, processes cause Purusha to misidentify itself with aspects of Prakriti. Accurate comprehension involves Purusha's ability to separate itself from Prakriti. So, what Sankhya philosophy basically trying to explain is that because of the living entity, which is termed here as Purusha, uh, because of its misidentification of self with the body or the Prakriti or the material nature, it is undergoing different suffering. Even though the body at present, what it has or experiencing, that is not its real identity, yet it has what you can say degraded its consciousness to mundane level and thus has got a mundane body and mundane identity. However, it has the capacity to what you can say trace back its identity by eliminating these are all wrong identity. That's what Sankhya is saying. Instead of what modern science is talking about is that there are matter and then matter accident happened and somehow matter accidentally those all particles bumped each other and produced all the experiences of self, color, smell, taste, and happiness. All these things that life exhibit. That is not what Sankhya is talking in terms of evolution, that, the Darwin's illusionary idea of chemical evolution or biological evolution is talking about. It's talking about subjective evolution, how the consciousness degraded of an individual to the mundane level and started identifying itself with the mundane, what I can say, bodily identity. So Purusha represents the witness, consciousness, Atma, and is sometimes referred with the Supreme Absolute or even with Paramatma or Super Soul. It exists freely beyond the realm of perception and surpasses any experience perceived by the mundane mind or senses. So sometimes there is confusion created when in the Sankhya, the students of the Sankhya, they use the term Purusha for the living entity and also for the Supreme Lord and also for the Super Soul or the Paramatma. So there is some distinction later on we will discuss about that. And then we understand what is the nature of Purusha and how living entity does not represent that function. And the ultimate realization of the Purusha or the Jiva is as servant, and that is how it is, explained in Vedic, tradition. So that we are going to discuss later on. So these are all the basic, what you can say, introduction points to Sankhya philosophy. So there is a similarity between Sankhya and yoga systems. They are one and the same. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, this is the what I can say statement I am quoting from our founder Acharya Vishnupa Bhakti Goswami Maharaj from his book Heart and Hello, and there is a section called Journey to the Center. So in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, "Yat Sankhya प्राप्यते स्थानं तद योगीर अपि गम्यते एकम संख्यम च योगम च यो पश्यति स पश्यति." Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, sloka number 5. So here it says, he has true vision who can see that the Samkhya and Yoga systems are one and the same. One person is trying to reach the ultimate goal by external elimination and the other by internal elimination. This is body, this is mind, this is soul, Atma, then super soul, Paramatma, and onwards. The search is all within. The process of elimination is within. And by that, is trying to reach the core. And the other by elimination of the elements of external world, earth, water, fire, air, ether, is trying to understand the origin. That is Sankhya, neti, 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 not that, not that. This is the idea Siddhamad explaining. This is not it. This is not it. This is not dependent. Uh, this is also dependent. This is not original, nor this, nor this. All are effects. Then what is the cause? To inquire through the external process is Sankhya, and the internal process is through yoga, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, samadhi. So by elimination of the effect, we come in contact with the cause. From the gross, we start towards the subtle, and we reach more and more subtle planes in the causal direction. So here, the similarity between yoga and Sankhya is in that sense that both go from the plane of the subtle to the from the plane of gross to subtle and more in a subtle plane. So that is the causal direction. Means subtle is producing the gross. Instead, the opposite what modern science is claiming, that the gross is producing the subtle. Modern science thinks that the concept of rock is coming from rock. But what Vedanta is saying, that the concept of rock is coming from the conscious being. It's not coming from the insentient stuff that we know as rock. So this is very, very significant. So what Sankhya practitioner, they are doing some analysis, external analysis of this material world and their own self, their body, and they are trying to realize that they are not this gross body, and they are not this mind, subtle mind, and intellect, buddhi, and the higher elements. So they are transcending towards higher and higher subtle planes. And in the place of yoga, in the meditative process, they are realizing the same by transcending their identity as gross body and subtle body, and then further going towards their self. So both are going towards the subtle plane or searching for the self by eliminating what is non-self. So one is by the external analysis, another by the meditative process. Founder of Sankhya philosophy, actually there are two Kapilas. One is Kardama Kapila, another is Sankhya Kapila. So Kapila, the son of Kardama and Devahuti, gave what is known as Sankhya, but he has given recognition to the Supreme Lord Ishvara, whereas the atheist Kapila claimed Ishvara a Siddhe. There is no necessity of any god to explain the existence of this world. So one is the theistic Kapila, which is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So he is the incarnation of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So he is the son of Kardama and Devahuti, and he has given the Sankhya, where he is given the recognition of the Supreme Lord, Ishwar. Whereas another Kapila, which is an atheist Kapila, he has also given the Sankhya philosophy. So where he claims there is no necessity of any god to explain the existence of this world, like modern scientists are claiming. So atheistic Kapila says only two things are necessary. First, a particle of spirit, and second, matter. Matter and spirit combined, Shiva and Shakti have created this world. There are so many spiritual particles, like speaks of sand or dust, and by their combination with matter, this world is going on automatically. So here, um, we can see there is a difference between the what atheistic Kapila is claiming and what the modern scientists are claiming. So modern scientists, they only say that matter by somehow becoming complex and producing all the things that we are observing in this world, including the activities of living organisms and their subjective feelings. But here atheistic Kapila is adding another element that is called as a spirit. So matter and spirit combined, they are producing all these things. So what our founder Acharya Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj has explained, a challenge to this atheistic Kapila's concept of Sankhya, is that where this philosophy of atheistic Kapila ends, the philosophy that of Bhagavad school begins. So you here, Sridhar Maharaj, addressing to atheistic Kapila and their followers, will have to explain where these Shivas exist. There are so many Shivas, like particles of spiritual dust, but should we not think they must be living in some position, and that there must exist some relationship between them? There are so many, and some sort of relationship must be there between them, and they must also stay somewhere in some position and some plane. And how are they harmonized together? Or are they each an independent unit, all fighting with one another? If not, and what is their nature? The Bhagavad has come to explain about the Mukta Jivas, the liberated souls. These souls who were once diseased are now free from that disease. In their healthy condition, what do they do? What is their position, their characteristic, their nature, their object, their pastimes? We have to know that. So Bhagavatam has given us an explanation. This is from Bhakti-Raksha Seda Goswami Maharaj's book, Heart and Hello, Journey to the Center. So here, Srila Sridhar Maharaj from Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary of one of the schools of the six, Indian schools, Vedanta. So Bhagavatam is a natural commentary of Vedanta. It talks about the activities of the liberated souls. So generally, many people have misconception about the idea of liberation. They think that after liberation, there are no activity, everything is ceased to. But Srimad Bhagavatam refutes that. So there are two types, two worlds are there. One is material world and the spiritual world. So mostly people have the idea of liberation, that is a border of material and spiritual world, that is known as Viraja. But they have not grasped the concept beyond Viraja, which the Bhagavatam is talking about, that is spiritual world, Vaikuntha, Vrindavan. So these worlds, their activities of Supreme Lord, his various avatars and also his expansions and his associates are mentioned. And how a conditioned soul, who at present identified itself with the material body, can enter into that higher plane by learning the activities after achieving the plane of liberation, purifying from the mundane level. What are the spiritual activities that are discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam? So the Kapila, atheistic Kapila, he could not explain what is the connection between so many those spirit that is there, the particle of spirit. So, and from where the matter came, all these ideas are not so clear. Even in a general concept of Sankhya, these ideas are not very, very clear. So, the Vedanta will address that concepts. So, it addresses that concept in the tradition of Vedic, what you can say, scriptures or wisdom. So, elements of matter in Sankhya philosophy. So, in Sankhya, there is evolution of Prakriti is explained. There is Mula Prakriti, where the three material modes, Sattva, Raja, Tamas, they are in equilibrium. So when they are in equilibrium, they are in Abhyakta, uncreated. That is known as Abhyakta or uncreated. But when their balance is disturbed, then the Mahat Tattva, which is also intelligence or buddhi, it is explained. It becomes Vyakta. Avyakta becomes Vyakta, manifest, and caused or dependent. It is dependent on Mula Prakriti. And from there, the identity also manifest. Ahankara, ego, and from there the sattvic mode develops various entities, various elements like manas, mind. So mind is like there are description of karmendriyas, five karmendriyas and five gyanendriyas. Mana is considered as the 11th because without mind focusing on those indriyas will not function. If something is moving in front of our eyes and our mind is not focused, we cannot see things. So this is the 11th organ. Uh, or the sense. So there are Gyanendriyas, organs of perception like ears, skin, eyes, tongue, nose, and Karmendriyas, organs of actions like mouth, arms, legs, excretory, and reproductive organs. And from the tamasic, the other elements are coming, which is known as tanmatra, which is related to matter. Matra and matter are similar. So this is a subtle elements like sound, touch, form, taste, smell, which basically modern science is now mostly focused on. Uh, so to give the idea of matter and further gross elements that are manifest, which the modern science is talking as atoms, molecules, quarks, all those things. So what here they are dividing in Sankhya based on that: space, air, fire, water, earth. So here we have to understand these material elements. There are like mind and senses. They are also coming under the material elements, and also the intellect, buddhi, that is also coming under the material element. And the three modes of material nature, sattva, raja, tama. Sattva means mode of goodness, raja means mode of passion, and tamas means mode of ignorance. So the creation of the material universe, it is coming from the mode of this um, means rajaguna, passion, mode of passion, it is all creation is happening. So here there is a parallels between modern scientific theory and Sankhya philosophy in explaining the universe origin. Because modern science also explains that there is initial imbalance between matter and antimatter. Here also Sankhya philosophy is talking that when the three modes, sattva, raja, tama, there is equilibrium is disturbed, then the material creation starts. But both Sankhya philosophy and modern science, they are unclear about what initiates the imbalance of material modes. What is the origin of the spirit, particle, and matter? This is not clear in the Sankhya philosophy. So, when we come to the Vedanta, the Vaishnava section of Vedanta, Bhagavad Vedanta, which is the Bhagavatam, is given by Vedavyas. Vedavyas is the authority who has given all the Vedic literature and all the darsanas, everything coming from him. He is the authority of all the Vedic wisdom. So, in his mature state, he has given Srimad Bhagavatam, and there the explanation of the origin of all this and why this imbalance has happened, all these things are clearly explained. So there is a conception in the Vedavyas explanations that there is a divine glance of Mahavishnu which begins the imbalance of material modes. Means the glance of Mahavishnu is known as Sambhu, the ego, and which is also represented in the Sadasiv. So the glance is also a person, that is Sadasiv, and from there, Durga Devi, Parvati is the wife of Lord Shiva. So Lord Vishnu's glance is represented in by Lord Shiva. So by them, the whole creation starts. The imbalance of the three modes, from there, this whole creation starts. So here in Vedic tradition, everything is described in terms of personalist view. It's not described in terms of accidents or chance, all these things what modern science is talking about, because they have no understanding of the intricacies and manifestation of all these things. So everybody in modern science, they are coming up with one theory, one story. Like you see in modern science, an origin of life, somebody is giving a story that life originated from other universe. Some is saying that it came from thermal vent, and others are saying that some other, what you can say, rotten meat has produced this life. So many ideas, and they are trapped with the linear understanding of its origin by saying that the replication first uh, or metabolism first. There is debate. All these things are going on. So it cannot be, the history cannot be understood by the guesswork of many individuals. So history is revealed by the person who has witnessed that, who was present at the time of creation, that is the Supreme Lord, and he has revealed this knowledge to the first living entity of, that is Brahma. And from that revelation, this knowledge is coming down through Guru Parampara. So these are the concepts coming from there. So if we can make the basis of this revealed knowledge uh, for doing our research by taking the direction from there, then we will get the proper understanding, proper concept. And for that also, we have to cultivate our consciousness. So the scriptural knowledge cannot be understood by our egoic understanding of things. So understanding has to be given, and that epistemology in Vedanta is very deep. Prataksha, Paraksha, Aparoksha, Dakshaja, Prakrita, that is another elaborate topic, but we have to follow that. Then we can get proper knowledge by the divine grace. So Vedic creation talks about multiverses. The material world is an experience facilitated by Mahavishnu, also known as Kshirodakshay Vishnu, the form from whose breath the multiverse is born, and from whose inhalation the entire multiverse of matter is drawn and engulfed. So you can see at the bottom that it's Mahavishnu, who is also known as Karanadakshay Vishnu, and he's lying in the Karana ocean, means the causal ocean. So this world, material world, everything is based on cause and effect. So there is a causal ocean is there. So when he breathes out from his body, there are pores are there, where the body hairs are there. From each pore, one like a water bubble, the universe comes out. And each of those universe, he enters as also Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and from his navel, one lotus flower grows, and there Brahma, first living entity, takes birth. So different universes have different Brahmas. Means they are different in terms of number of heads. So our universe is the smallest universe, which has 4-head Brahma, and other universe there are 8 heads, 16 head, 32 head, and many millions and trillions of heads Brahmas are there. So based on their heads, the size of universe is decided. More the heads, more bigger is the universe, and the nature of the universe is different. And Penrose, Roger Penrose, he interacted with our Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaksha Damodar Maharaj, and now he talks about also multiverse in the modern science. But we don't know how much he understand about the universe, because modern science only talks about the gross matter. It does not talk about mind, intellect, which is also the plane of reality exists in the material universe. And this all concept of sattva, raja, tama, and their imbalance, all these things are not yet grasped by the modern science. Modern science basically dealing with the gross matter at this moment, and don't want to advance further, even in the plane of matter, to understand. Sankhya advances from gross material plane to subtle material plane, and it enters into the plane of soul, and also try to realize the super soul by its process of analysis, external analysis. So, who is Purusha? In Sankhya, there is a confusion about the Purusha that is known as the living entity, some claim, and then some also use the Purusha as the Supreme Lord or Paramatma. So, Purusha represent the masculine nature, but in Bhagavad Gita, if you see, where also Sankhya philosophy is discussed elaborately, and there, Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 7, chapter 4th sloka, Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhi Revacha Ahankara Ityam Me Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego are the 8 divisions of my illusionary potency in this world. And the next sloka. So here, first thing we understand, the matter which includes gross and subtle, means earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are known as Pancha Mahabhuta in the Sankhya philosophy. And then mind, intelligence, and false ego, which is the subtle element. So these are all, Lord explains as the illusionary potency. So potency means is Shakti, it is feminine. So matter is the potency of the Lord, and he is the source of that potency. So he's Shaktiman. So matter is Shakti, and it is known as external energy, Mahamaya, Bahiranga Shakti, and Lord is the Shaktiman. So, Purusha, a term cannot be used to matter, nor it can be used to jiva, as we understand from the next sloka of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 7 chapter and 5th sloka. Sorry, this is the 5th sloka. Apareyam itas toy anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabahu yayadham dharyate jagat. O mighty hero Arjuna, the external worldly nature is inferior, but know that superior to this nature is my marginal potency, comprised of the individual souls. Worldly existence is adopted by the souls for enjoyment through fruitive actions. The divine world emanates from my internal potency, and the mundane world from my external potency. The potency of the living beings is known as marginal, as they are constitutionally situated midway between these planes. They may choose to reside either in the mundane plane or the divine. So here, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita explains that the living entities, the spirit soul is the marginal potency. It is also Shakti, and is superior than the inferior energy that is we have described previous loka, the matter. So marginal potency And there is an internal potency in the spiritual world. Material world has external potency, matter. And then the spiritual world, there is yoga maya. External world, there is mahamaya, this mundane world. And spiritual world, there is yoga maya. And the border of that, the living entity resides. So this is the conscious platform. So jiva, thus being in the border, either it can go towards mundane side or to the spiritual world. So you can see in this image, the mundane world in the below, we can see it as a perverted reflection where Brahma is there, mundane world. And the transcendental world, there are many Vaikunthas, and top of that is the Golok Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna exhibiting the transcendental pastimes. And in the Vaikunthas is expansions, Narayana, Vishnu, they are executing the transcendental pastimes. The border of that is the Viraja, and there the people, what you can say, by renunciation, approach the plane of neutrality. So beyond that, there is transcendental activity of the liberated souls. So thus, the concept of Purusha to explain the jiva is illusionary, because by constitutional nature, jiva is the servant of the absolute, because it is the Shakti of the Lord, as Krishna explains in Gita. The soul is inactive, indifferent, passive in this enjoying plane. So, Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj explains in Subjective Loose Consciousness and the chapter Consciousness and Evolution, Prakriti, the material nature, does not evolve consciousness like fossilism, but on the other hand, both are within consciousness. There is no necessity of movement for the soul here. The soul is inactive, indifferent, passive in this enjoying plane. That is another original conception. The soul does not take its place in the negative side. It is meant for positive side, but accepting that the soul is the in the background, Prakriti or matter energy, the body works on its behalf. The relationship between body and soul is like the relationship between a miner and his false guardians. It is something like what happens when a proprietor of an estate is a miner and the managers take advantage of his youth to loot and enjoy the estate. The Baddha Jiva souls in the minor's position. The soul cannot control these revolting managers, the five senses. He need only have the contact of a major soul. With the help and guidance of the major soul, he can subdue his managers and gain mastery over his own property. A fallen soul's position is like a minor proprietor. He is helpless, he is doing nothing. The managers are doing everything using his own resources. They are doing everything in the name of the proprietor. The soul is inactive, non-cooperating, but the body, mind, intelligence, and false ego are working on behalf of the soul, the real ego, as if he were on their side. But if the real interest inside is roused by a major soul who is connected with Paramatma and with Bhagavan, then the soul will find his own field there. He shall control the senses and mind and utilize them in the service of the Lord. He shall say, everything is for Krishna, not for me. This is from Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, Subject Evolution Consciousness and Evolution section. So here, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has explained the concept that the jiva at this moment is being facilitated actually by experience of being independent, because by nature jiva cannot be independent. So it is a jiva is experiencing material world like a dream state. In dream, a person may imagine so many things, but that is all just experience. Experience is true, but those experiences are not true. Means he may be flying in sky and doing so many things, but when he awakes, he sees that they're all only a dream. Same way, in this material world, we are experiencing many things of acting independent of the Supreme Lord. Only when we get some grace from the Supreme Lord and some special agent, a major soul, as Srila Siddhar Maharaj explains, he comes to this plane and try to awaken us by engaging us in the service of the divine, and revives our constitutional position as servant rather than exploiter. Then we can also awake from that state and our soul can be active. We are not trapped in just concept of gross and subtle bodily concept of identifying ourselves. So the conclusion is that um, science must acknowledge that life exhibits conscious activities that are unique and cannot be explained by material laws alone. Sankhya philosophy can provide modern science with a deeper understanding of matter, encompassing both its gross and subtle aspects. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita clarifies the misconception held by some Sankhya followers who consider the jiva to be the Purusha. Ultimately, unless one embarks on the path of awakening, speculation will persist in the realm of dreams, which the material world and our perceptions of it currently represent. So, thank you very much for this opportunity, and we're looking forward if there are any questions or comments. Thank you.